Welcome to my new Craft a DM video series, where I'll answer common and asked questions to the best of my ability, help you find a new way of doing things, and further my own education as a DM. The first question is a common question, and almost every DM starting out has asked this: how do I keep the players interested? I believe that there are a multitude of ways to keep them interested. The first step is to look at the group as a whole, and then look at yourself. We're just going to look at ourselves for now because there's a second question that is related to the group aspect. As a DM, your ego can be very fragile. You spend a certain amount of time preparing and planning, and then these players don't seem to be into your story or your game. Focus on what types of players you have and then reward them to suit their playstyles. It may require some change that go against your own style, but if you do this, then you'll eventually grow as a DM and be able to play with a variety of other players. A few examples of this might be granting extra experience points for completing a certain quest of style, awarding role-playing experience, giving a special item that has influence on the game itself, whether it be a main plot point, side quest, or a player's backstory quest, extra gold when they finish a quest even though no gold was mentioned as a prize initially, giving them future thought on trying to skip out on future quests. Granted, you'll want to use these methods sparingly, lest the group becomes dependent on special items, more XP, and gold. Then you've opened up a whole new batch of problems. Certain players like the story itself, and the world their characters are in. A good way to reward this type of player is to have recurring villains. If you're good at the improv game, and the players just seem to hate some minor villain, find a way for that creature to escape, and become part of the larger plot. If you're more of a prepper, find a certain enemy that they'll encounter along the way and plan the encounter as though the enemy will try to escape before reaching a certain threshold of hit points. Then at some pivotal moment, the villain reappears later on in the story. Another way to engage a player is to have their backstory come into play and create a side quest that ties in with that backstory. Not only should the player want to do this quest, but the party, if the party likes this character, will want to help out too. Try not to throw this in during a main plot point, unless it's tied in with the main plot itself. If there's more pressing matters at hand, then the group may see this quest as trivial and not do it. A big key to success is listening to critique, but being able to distinguish good versus bad ideas. At the end of each session, ask the group either publicly or individually through email, voice video chat, some way, shape, or form, what they thought of the session and how you ran it. This establishes a good working relationship between you as the DM and them as players. Last but not least would be to tailor the campaign and its quest to suit the group better. If the group is a bit on the rogue side, chaotic neutral, they may not want to do things for the greater good. Try to find a way to enhance the quest, maybe adding a secret room of long lost loot. You can drop a rumor to that loot beforehand, and when the group gets to that quest, they may remember that rumor or small village legend that there's ancient loot to be found there as well. Question number 2. How do I deal with the problem player? So when you look at your group, what type of gamers are they? If you're unfamiliar with the general style of players, then there's generally 4 main types of players with various subtypes. The 4 main ones are thinkers, power gamers, storytellers, and actors. However, there's hardly anyone who identifies as just one, so that's why there's this handy little diagram to help out. Now, some of these types clash with other types, and that's just the way it is. The easiest way out would be to identify the players individually and find the problem. From there, you can politely let them down and explain that their playstyle just doesn't fit with the group, which this is my least favorite option. Or, you can politely inform them that they are dragging the group down with their playstyle, and recommend ways to improve that. This is the best option if you enjoy them as a person and want to remain friends. Try to give them a new way of thinking. If they're a bad type of rules lawyer that tries to metagame too much, suggest that they try to explain certain things in character instead of outright saying rule blank of page blank says I can do this, so I do that. Now, if there's a disagreement of the rules, suggest to them that you'll look at a certain rule during a break in the action, but inform them that for now, this is how it will work. Maybe someone is a bit too in character that they take away from the main story. Someone whose character goes against the grain of the group. One who plays a younger or older than usual person and acts feeble all the time. The best way to handle this type is to not let them create such monstrosities in the first place. Why would a group of able-bodied men and women be traveling with a deaf or mute old man, or some whiny child in the first place? They likely wouldn't. Have them re-roll a new character. A way to prevent this would be to screen all created characters first. However, if you do let a problem slip through, or you don't see an initial problem with the character, but their character turns out like this, then create an object that lets the old man speak or hear clearly, or have the child drink what looks to be like water or some type of juice. But it's a maturing of the mind potion, so they're forced in character to roleplay that now. Now, if a problem player still doesn't listen to your advice, or take what the world has given them, then maybe it's time for you to make a choice of booting the player out of the group. You try to be Don Quixote and civilize them, but sometimes they're just too stuck in their ways and need to find a group that best suits them. The best way to avoid this problem entirely is to be careful who you let into your group by screening them and asking questions of them. Well, that's all for this video. Let me know how I did. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and stay tuned for the next Craft a DM video.